I'm just trying to get the fuck out of the single family game. Like $200-$300 a month cash flow is fucking, for me to have 70 grand or so tied up in a house is fucking retarded. You know, it's like I got 70 grand sitting in a house and I'm making a few $100s a month from. I could take that same 70 grand and put it into ads and turn that 70 grand into 300 grand every month. I can't do that with real estate. So, but I am a real estate guy. So all my life, I've always just taken my extra money and bought houses. And I looked up about 2 years ago. I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? The lowest return on investment that I get, I dumped fucking millions of my dollars into. What the fuck? So started selling them off, you know. Nice. And for some people, I get it. If you're like a teacher or something and you're building long-term wealth or whatever. But like for me, I have a business, so it doesn't make sense to take money out of the business and put into an asset that goes up 3 to 6% a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had like 20 something houses. I'm down to, I got 2 left. This one that 3 counting this one. Once this one's sold, I'll be down to 2, and I've got one of them on the market, and the other one, the tenant moves out in July, so I'll sell it to Open Door too because it's on the same fucking street.
Are you going to stay in real estate? Are you going to go commercial? Or are you just trying to get out of single family?
Well, despite all that, I still own 8 figures in real estate because I own this building, which in itself is fucking bigger than most people's portfolio. But I own this building by myself. I own my ranch, which is fucking huge. You know, it's worth a lot of money too. Then I've got my personal house. So just with like my personal house, my ranch, in this building, we're $15-16 million worth of real estate still.
Yeah, awesome. So, yeah, this building's beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, I got it for sale. I built it 2 years ago, and I thought my idea of running a business would be, let's have hundreds of employees and all this. And I look up, and I got about 60 people working for me. It's a fucking nightmare. And this place is booming and packed, and I'm like, fuck, man, because it's an 80-20 rule, like 80% of those people on payroll ain't doing shit, and so I look up and I'm like, fuck, I bought this building, thinking I was going to need to fill it up, and now we mostly use it for events and stuff, but I've got it for sale, and if the person that's coming to look at it tomorrow, if I ended up selling, it'd be a hell of a fucking deal for me anyway, so if I don't, cool. If I do, but yeah. I've got it for sale to where I should be able to make about $3 million off of it, and if that's the case, this will be the biggest deal I've ever done. So, only downside is I bought this and renovated it for one company like mine to operate out of, so it doesn't make a very good landlord building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you built this, or you didn't buy it? You built it?
I built this. It was So we bought this. It's on 4 acres. Everything was growed up. It was fucked up. Nobody was here. It was trashed out. And so we gutted this whole thing. And all 22,000 square foot, it did not look anything like what you're seeing right now. We gutted everything, man. And so it took us 8 months with hundreds of people on the job site. Same people built this that built the Cowboy Club you were at last night.
Oh, okay, cool.
Same company.
Cool, yeah.
But yeah, it was nothing. Like, it was all medical facilities.
That's awesome.
So we bought it pretty cheap and then put, a few $1 million into it to renovate it. So
we're renovating our building right now. We actually just bought our first building as well. It's a lot smaller, but it's still good. Was it 9,000 square feet? It was on the corner, it was on a corner in a town, and we got it for like $230. Yeah. We ended up putting like $600 into it, but it's nice. And we still got the whole upstairs to do. We're going to do an event space up there too, so I'm really excited about it.
Well, this Collin County where you're at is the wealthiest county in Texas, and this is the most expensive zip code in that county. So, like, this is prime fucking real estate. So,
and how long have you had this building for?
A little over 2 years.
Oh wow, it's a quick turn.
22. Yeah, I bought it for 4.5. I got it for sale for 7.5. So
that's a pretty good return investment.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Better than that $200 and $300 on the residential stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So every time I buy a house, I sign up to be the owner on Zillow, so I get updates. And so when I went to see what Zillow said the value was, it was like, want to sell it? I was like, well, actually, yeah, I do. So I click the fucking button, and the next thing you know, I'm like balls deep in a real estate transaction. I'm like, this has got to be...
But it was that fast.
I'm like, this has got to be too good to be true. And so about a week later, they sent somebody out there, and she was like really cute, nice girl. You know, I thought it'd be some like hairy old inspector or some shit, you know, like you see on most. But she's like probably a young realtor or something like that. Showed up, did an iPad video of it, was very professional. Even offered, she goes, oh, if you're selling the one down the street, I'll do it too. I was like, I can't sell it till July. It's like really nice company to deal with. Y'all know David Harris Jr.?
I don't.
Yeah, he's like big political commentator guy.
Black guy, right?
Black conservative.
Yeah, I know who. Yeah, I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends.
Really?
He bought the house next door to me, and he's like trying to sell it too. Yeah, David's a character. He's spoken at a bunch of our events. He's a good friend of mine. He and I are a lot alike. I bought a house in that neighborhood. He bought the house next door to me. Then I bought a ranch in Oklahoma. He just moved to Oklahoma and bought some land. He's like, dude, I'm just doing what you're doing. I know you got the moves to make. I'm like, all right, I dig it.
What do you do on your ranch?
Mostly fuck off, you know, but, or break shit, you know, like typical ranch and stuff, but we raise cows.
Okay.
We have cows, hay, and pecans. So we have probably 1,100 pecan trees out there. Last year I got $12,000 in my cut. I got a 60-40 cut. I get 40%, still make 12 grand from pecans. So that pays my $4,000 a year tax bill and then some. But Oklahoma's pretty cheap. Plus we're ag exempt. So, you know, because we pay agriculture taxes up there, so.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
We have 200 cows, hay, pecan orchard, lakes, all that stuff. So, but yeah, I go up there and mostly fixing shit and, you know, making sure everything's in order. But I like to fish and hunt and, you know, things like that. So.
Hell yeah.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Yeah. You rolling? Cool. Y'all got like an intro you do?
Yeah, there'll be a song that goes into it, but basically just like.
Oh, hey, oh. You are now tuned in to the best roofing podcast in the world. The Roof Trollz.
Roof Trollz, we're here. My host with me, Mike Armalis, Sean Harrison, and we have a very awesome, super spontaneous guest today. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, man, I'm just some dude that was drinking at the bar last night, and these guys were like, "We got a podcast." I was like, "I got a studio, so let's make it happen." But my name's Ryan Stewman, and from Texas, and glad to be here on the Roof Trollz, man.
That's awesome, man. We're glad to have you. And I literally did not expect this. You know, having drinks, you come up and I introduce. I've only talked to you for 3 minutes prior to this, and you pretty much eliminate all the excuses on why we couldn't shoot the podcast. So
yeah, he did an FYE on you, like instantly.
Yeah, basically did. Yeah, I'm like,
well, you wanted to make something happen.
Yeah, I don't have my marketing team, and he's like, so what? I got a studio. Let's do it. What's your excuse now? I don't have one. So here we are in Apex, and it's a very beautiful office. And you were explaining a little bit about that. You want to dive into that real fast, though? Like what's going on here, like the whole concept of what you created with this?
Yeah, so I was telling them, you know, we built this building because of a couple of factors. You know, number one is my hotel bill every year for like throwing events. It was like $700,000. No, I'm sorry, it was over $1 million a year, and I could buy this whole building for about $600,000 a year. You know. And so it made sense to save some money and buy this building. And, you know, I thought I would fill it up with employees and everything else, but a lot of people like working from home. And I find that, you know, to find local talent is difficult because you're in a fixed area. It always seems like the good guy hits you up from North Carolina. He's like, man, can I work remote? And it's like, fuck, I need you in the office. But in reality, I stopped doing that. I stopped there. Why the fuck do I need somebody in the office? If they can get their job done, I don't care, right? My top producer, he works out of the office, but I don't know where he's at today, but he'll make a sale and get his job done today, you know? And so I look up and I'm like, maybe I don't need to fill this up. And managing a lot of people in person and all that shit's kind of a pain in the ass. So I've got the building on the market to sell. But it's one of those things where, you know, we've almost got it, thanks to Monaco here, we've almost got this building paying for itself too. Because like last week we had an event here. This week we have an event here. We have a church that does service every Saturday here that pays us. So, you know, we're, you know, probably making 15, 20 grand a month in renting it out, which pays for a substantial amount of it. So I've got it listed for a pretty top price. If somebody buys it, it'll be a hell of a come up for me. If they don't, then we'll just keep operating it. But it is weird walking down the hall and it not being full anymore because a lot of people work from home. The guy that is most likely going to become top producer this month or next month, he's on my main guy's ass, is a remote guy in Atlanta. Never met him. So, awesome. and probably he's the best handler of data and stuff, which is huge in our business. I think today's salesperson isn't the hype guy or the motivation guy or the manipulative guy. It's a dude that can use data and get to the facts with somebody. So the better a salesman is at notes in the CRM and setting up a process and can manage the process, manage the notes, know when the data, the right indicators of who to call and stuff. That's the master salesman today. And I'm finding that most of those guys don't want to work in an office because they're tech guys. They want to work from home.
Yeah, that's this guy over here. Sean's our tech guy, and he's a strange bird socially, but man, the guy in front of a computer is just a monster.
Yeah, it's all about the system.
Yeah.
So what product does your team sell then? Or what product are these guys selling?
So loans. So we do business to business lending. And so if you're a business owner and we set up lines of credit, we can help you buy a building. We can help you get SBA loans, acquisition loans. So a lot of what we'll do is somebody will come to us and let's say they're buying a business, right? So you're buying a legitimate roofing company. It's got good financials. You're getting an SBA loan. So we'll do the SBA loan, but let's say that you're buying the business for $1 million and the SBA wants $200,000 down. Well, we can also go get you a merchant cash advance for $200,000 down to where you can literally get into this thing for, no personal money out of pocket and stuff. So, I've created a business because of my reputation, and I've been doing this for 21 years, but I've created a business to where you can come and tell me what's really happening on the finance thing, and I'm not going to help you commit fraud, right? But I mean, outside of absolutely documenting tax returns or something, you can say, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get in this bitch with no money out of my pocket. I'm trying to raise capital for this. Or you can have those conversations with me, and I'm not going to hold it against you like a banker might. You know what I mean? Like banker, you might say something, be like, oh, well, shit, we can't touch that. Where I'd be like, you don't want to do it that way, but here's how you want to do it. It's a common sense perspective, and people can just have that conversation with me and know I'm not a snitch. You know what I mean? And know that, like, okay, I see what your real objective is, and here's how you're going to accomplish that, So we loan millions of dollars a week to businesses. So last year alone, we took 852 business applications. So, we stay pretty busy over there.
Yeah, and I appreciate the no nonsense and no bullshit approach because I have the same approach in sales. So I just believe that firmly that instead of dancing around for it, if someone would just be fucking straight with you, when it comes down to doing a negotiation, it would be a lot easier. So and giving back is always awesome too. So you're taking your experience and helping people navigate through extremely tough processes. So maybe we'll even discuss that after this because we are in the process of going through the whole loan thing, and it's a nightmare to haggle with the banks back and forth, and just deal with stuff. So that's awesome. So where did your background come from, like getting into this? But where did all this start?
Well, I always been really good with numbers, and so I started off selling cocaine and weed, which you got to be pretty good at numbers with to measure and weigh and stuff like that, and end up going to prison. Like most people that sell cocaine and weed, and did a little time in some Texas prisons and got out. And this is the 90s. So, man, I'm old. You know what I mean? So this isn't like, I'm fresh out of the prison or whatever. We're talking about shit that happened in the 90s. And so back when prison was not the place to be. I assume it's full of a bunch of gay people these days, but back then it was fucked up, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say I'm a tough guy or nothing. I'm just saying it can't be the same today, right? So anyway, I get out of prison. I do what most convicts do. I go get a job at a car wash, right? Like, hey, I'm now a convicted felon. Now, in 2025, you got convicted for cocaine. Nobody gives two fucks. But in the 90s and early 2000s, like, dude, we were at the war on drugs. Like, I'm a fucking terrorist, literally,
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was sitting in prison when 9/11 happened. Like, imagine watching that on the fucking news going, damn, are they going to kill us? Are we about to get fucked up in here? Like, so anyway, I get out, go to work at this car wash, but I've always been a man that sees things this way. if I can just be the best car wash guy, then maybe there's some way that one day I can like own these or make good money from them, right? So I get out, I learn every position at this car wash. I'm making $7 an hour. You know, minimum wage is $6.50 at the time, so I'm 50 cents above minimum wage. And I learned every position, worked my way up to manager over the course of a year, then got to where I was floating manager, managing different locations on the main manager's day off. And so, you know, I didn't have a wife or kids, so it was easy for me to float around the Metroplex. And I knew everything. Well, one day, a lady that was a regular customer came in and she said, you know, you work harder than anybody I've ever seen before. I'd like to give you a job. I was like, I got a job, you know? And she goes like, no, like a real job. You could become a millionaire. Fuck, lady, that ain't for me. What do you do? She goes, well, I do mortgages. What's that? I don't even know if I never heard that word in my life, right? I'm like, what is that? She goes, finance stuff for, you want to buy a home, we give you a loan. It's like, everything I do, I pay cash. You know, I have an apartment that a girl put in her name that I'm writing money orders for because they won't rent to felons. Like, everything I do is cash. I don't know shit, you know? And I'm still living like a drug dealer, just not selling drugs or making money, right? And so she says, well, here's my number. Call me. You got a job with me anytime. And I said, well, listen, I'm a felon. She goes, oh, shit, what'd you do? I said, I got caught with cocaine. She goes, oh, they'll love you in the office, right? So that Saturday, this was a Friday, that Saturday, the owner of the car wash showed up, and I hadn't seen this dude the whole time I worked there. I'd known him. I know who he is, but he showed up hungover. His wife probably didn't give him a blowjob that morning or something, you know. He's pissed, and he's taking it out on me and yelling at me. And I said, you know what? I got another job. Fuck this shit. I ain't got to take that. I'm still in that convict mode, too. So, you know, I'm like, I ain't got to fucking take this shit. I ain't no punk, you know, fucking bullshit. So threw the keys down, walked off the job, and I'm like, man, I hope that lady gave me a real number. You know, like, I hope this is I hope she wasn't just fucking with me, you know what I mean? Or flirting with me or some shit. So I call her, and it's her cell phone, and I call her, and she says, yeah, just be at the office Monday morning. So what time? She goes, just show up in the morning. Okay. Well, morning to me, 7. So I'm dressed like this, and I show up there at the mortgage company, and nobody gets there till about 10. So 3 hours I'm sitting in, like, the lobby. But when I got on the elevator to go up, the feds got on the elevator, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, what are you guys here for? And I'm an ex-criminal, so I'm not going to push what floor I'm going to on the elevator yet, because I want to see what floor they're going to. And if we're going to the same floor, I ain't pushing mine. You know what I mean? And they said, we're here to raid a mortgage company. And I thought, motherfucker, damn, I ain't even got the job, and they're going out of business, you know? And I'm talking to them. They're like, what floor are you going to? And I was like, what floor are you going to? And he's like, nice try, buddy. And I pushed 3, and he goes, oh, we're going to 5. We're raiding AmeriQuest. And I went, oh, thank God. But I'm like, God was telling me right then and there, don't fuck this up. You know, the feds they're in this industry. You just left prison, and now you're watching somebody get raided. You're going to have a lot of money flowing through what you're doing. You got to be good with it. And so I end up within a month and a half making 40 grand, 30 grand, which used to take me a whole year. And that was 2004. By the time 2005 was over with, I made 700 grand in a year. I went from selling dope, prison, washing cars and everybody, I became top producer in the company and probably in the state. And a lot of people were saying, you know, how did people in the company, how did you do that? So day one, the lady told me, she goes, take these books and read them and study them. And they were like mortgage underwriting guidelines. Now, I had to go buy a dictionary because I didn't know half the fucking words. And the internet wasn't a thing back then, right, like it is now. So, you know, you couldn't go, hey, Siri, what does, you know, this mean? So I'm literally looking up a dictionary and reading this shit, but I'm working 12 hours at the car wash, so I'm just start working 12 hours at the mortgage company. These other people come in at 10, go have drinks at 2, don't show back up, networking with realtors. Me, I'm out there knocking fucking doors of people that have real estate for sale signs in their front yard going, you guys got a banker? Looking back, I must have looked like a retard. But at the time, I was like, whatever the fuck it takes. And then as soon as I got that 30 grand in 2 months instead of a whole year, I was like, oh shit, man. It's like giving a lion his first piece of steak. Oh fuck, I'm hunting cows now, you know? And dude, I met a guy named Mike Reese, in 2005, he was the top real estate agent in the area here. And a friend of a friend introduced me to him, and me and Mike partnered up, and I started doing all of his mortgages. Well, in 2010, Obama passed the Dodd-Frank Act, and we passed it in 2009. It went in effect 2010. I lost my license because I was still on federal parole. It took licenses from state to fed, and the feds wouldn't give me a license. I'm out of a job. Well, I go meet with Mike to ask him if he'll hire me to be a appointment setter or something until I can figure out my life, right? And he goes, before I can ask him for a job, he goes, dude, I bought these CDs, these DVDs for $8,000. You got to check them out. Mike's the cheapest motherfucker I ever met in my life. And he bought DVDs for $8,000. What the fuck? What? First of all, who sold you this shit? I'm gonna go work with that guy, right? Because Mike's the cheapest motherfucker I know. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I take him home. Didn't ask him for a job. Didn't tell him I lost my job. None of that. Like, lost my job on a Friday. I'm meeting with him on Tuesday, you know. And then I didn't end up saying nothing. So I take these $8,000 DVDs home, and I put them into my computer, and I start just doing what it told me to do. Find a product, build a website. It took me maybe 30 days to do all this shit because we didn't have the technology we have today, right? But I'll never forget it. Like 2:30 one morning, the alarm went off that I was selling energy drinks, right? I just went and found a product to market. And the alarm went off, and I called that guy in San Antonio at 2:30 in the morning and asked him how the hell he found my site. And he's like, bro, what are you doing calling me? I was like, man, I built this shit. I'm like trying to explain to him, you're my first sale ever. I want to know what worked, because if I can do it once, I can do it a million times, but I just got to know what worked. And he's like, bro, I'm like 10 pages back on Google with insomnia and shit, right? Like, oh, fuck, all right. Well, that's not a viable, deal. And so anyway, but that was how it all got started, was just working for this car wash and being the best car washer I could be, and then being the best mortgage person I can be. And, when I got out of prison in 2008, I had to go twice. I didn't learn the first time. And I got out of federal prison in 2008 for a firearms charge. And, when I got out, my wife had divorced me while I was inside. And so I thought, well, I'll just post on Facebook that I'm winning. Maybe she'll come back, right? And because of that, people started hitting me up saying, can you do my loan or blah, blah, blah. So when 2010 happens and I don't have a license anymore, I'm like, man, I made money from Facebook. Like, people, like tens of thousands of dollars in refinance and stuff. How about I just teach loan officers how they can get leads from Facebook, And it sounds cool now in 2025, but in 2010, it went something like this. Have you ever heard of Facebook? No. Okay, well, let me explain what it is. You ever heard of MySpace? No. Okay, well, it's a website you go to and you talk to people on. Oh, like AIM, like Instant Messenger? No. And you like, because nobody knew what the fuck this shit was, especially bankers. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to explain to him, like, dude, it's going to be bigger than the media. It's going to be the way that's the future. And like, dude, everybody thought I was fucking batshit crazy until about 2015. At that time, I had probably helped 5 or 10 people become millionaires from social media, some of them on TV and shit like that. And so then we started kind of getting hey, man, maybe there's something to this whole Facebook thing this crazy guy has been talking about. And, back then, man, it's crazy because there wasn't, Gary Vee on social media. There wasn't Grant Cardone on social media. Like, I have interviews with those guys long before they were the famous people they are now. They were successful business people. They just weren't online. Goggins, Milet, like a lot of these people that we all know now, somehow I was lucky enough to run into them along the way and help them before they were already successful, but before they became famous and successful, It's pretty cool.
Basically an innovator. That's what I was going to ask you. So I see your ads all the time. Especially the one with the kid reading the book, and you walk in there outside. It's a great ad. Mm-hmm. So it's captivating, and I know it's a great ad because I do the marketing for our company, and all I do is watch those videos, and I'll scroll quickly if there's nothing there. So I wanted to ask you, like, when did you realize that putting yourself in front of the camera would open the doors for you that it was doing? Because I know you were generating leads and stuff off of social media. I imagine that was like posting in groups and sharing your story and stuff, because everybody wants to learn something. So if you provide some type of knowledge for people, they're going to absorb that and try to implement it themselves. At least the 1% that'll do it.
Right.
But for you to get in front of the camera, now that's a whole new ball game in itself. So like, when did you start to realize that, hey man, I could step in front of this and then even open up a massive amount more, because now there's a face with it?
Well, So in 2004, shortly before I met the mortgage lady, I met this stripper. And but I didn't meet her at a strip club. I didn't know she was a stripper until, you know, we'd already been banging a few times. Like, oh shit, you stripped? Ah, fuck. But anyway, I thought she was a hairdresser. Turns out she moonlighted. You know what I mean? So, she's like one day we're in a fight. You know what I mean? Probably about stripping. And she's like, you need to go to fucking church. Blah blah blah. Church. You know, I looked at church like this. In prison. It's funny, and I give you a real comparison. In state prison, you make parole, okay? There's a parole. So federal, there is no parole. In the state system, there's parole. So everybody in the state system goes to church on Sunday. They're religious. They're reading their Bibles. They're praying for parole. In the federal system, we didn't even have church because there ain't no parole. Like, you fucking ain't got nothing to be praying to God about. You're fucking here. And so I didn't want to have that, fake I'm praying to God. So in my mind, it's like all these guys are, you know, they're excuse makers. I'm a fuck your excuses guy. You know, I did this crime. I'm going to do my time. God didn't get me into this. That was my thinking. You know what I mean? I saw it as hypocrisy. So when this stripper's like, you need to go to church, I'm like, oh, and now the strippers go to church too. Okay, church is a great place, right? I'm sure it's fucking awesome. Well, so she takes me to this church. You know, it was the usual pitch. Oh, it's different. You know, oh, this place is different than other churches, right? It's what everybody always says. And so I go to this church. It's in an elementary school. And the band is pretty cool. Like, it wasn't like normal organ. Like, maybe I've been to church a few times on Christmas and shit over the years, but it wasn't like an organ and an old lady. It was like a band with guitars and stuff. Like, it's kind of cool, you know? And then this like tall 6'4" dude with glasses and a leather jacket comes out and he sings Higher by Creed. I shit you not, right? And I'm like, but Creed Higher was peak fucking America at that time. Yeah. Like, we were a proper fucking country. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, now that we're back, Creed's back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Real shit.
It is,
you know,
they're doing a tour.
Kid Rock, Creed, you know, all that. I was just at Limp Bizkit last September. I went and saw him. So
it's amazing.
And so, so he's singing Higher by Creed, and I'm like, dude, and he's doing a good job. And then he comes out. That's the preacher. Right? The dude that was singing Higher by Creed ends up being the preacher, and he's like this big muscular dude, and I'm sitting there and I've never in my life thought of this, and I went, I want to do that. I want to be on stage and talk to people like that. That's got to be a hell of a rush. Come to find out, most people, that's their biggest fear, right? But for some reason, I was like, dude, that's got to be, you could just talk to people. That's amazing. This guy's really good at it. So I'm in that church now. It's been 23 years or 21 years every Sunday. You know, if I don't go, I'm watching it on still all these years later. We run, I've helped them build it. We have a $40 million building. It's the biggest non-commercial or for-profit building in our city. So, you know, like it's cool to see how we've grown and all that. But the reason why I tell you that story is because in 2008 or 2009, YouTube was starting to be a normal thing. It wasn't like it is now, but you know, people were starting to go there for tutorials and stuff. And I thought, that's how I can become that guy. I can just start making videos and be on YouTube. And instead of having a place where I got to get an audience to come there, I can just have an online audience. And then if I get good enough at that, then I'll end up getting an in-person audience somewhere. Sure enough, and this is a good lesson for anybody listening or watching this, sure enough, I get on there and just pretend, because I'm not, but I just pretend like I'm a professional speaker. I say shit that I thought professional speakers would say. And if you're ever bored, go back on my YouTube channel 20 years and fucking go look at the shit. It's hilarious, right? I couldn't afford a haircut and fucking I goofball, didn't know what I was saying, like smiling, head bobbing bullshit that I thought you were supposed to do. Anything but an authentic version of myself. You know what I mean? And, it's funny because one day in 2010, so let's say I've been doing this shit for a year at this point. Maybe it was 2011. I'm at a bar with a gay friend of mine. And I don't know if this bar is a gay bar or not. My friend's gay, so I just assume that he invited me. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? This dude was a top producer and real estate agent. And we did a lot of business together. We traveled, and he's a good friend of mine. And but I'm at this bar. I don't know if it's gay or not. I didn't ask, right? But I'm at the bar and a dude taps me on the shoulder and he's like, hey man. And I'm thinking, fuck. Okay, this is definitely a gay bar. And I'm going to spend the whole night explaining I'm not gay. You know what I mean? But there's chicks in there too. So I'm like, it's one of those kind of places. But anyway, he goes, hey man, are you the hardcore closer? Well, I have a website called The Hardcore Closer. So yeah, I guess I am. I never considered myself as the hardcore closer. And he goes, man, I love watching your videos, dude. I'm in the mortgage business. He goes, dude, I watch your shit every week. I probably was one of the first people to sign up for your website. I don't know this dude. And I'm like, yeah, I am the hardcore closer. It was like, oh shit, like it's actually working, and then maybe a month goes by. I'm still putting out weekly videos. And the local Coldwell banker reached out to me and said, hey, would you come in and talk to my team? How much? And I'm like, oh, you don't got to pay me. You know what I mean? Like, let me just bring my camera and I'll come talk to your team, And at that point, now I've got me on video in front of people. So now I'm showing that to the public and they're like, oh, people want this dude to come speak. And that's how it all.
Hell yeah, because you were providing substance, and then you hit on a point that a lot of people don't understand, and the fact that you were willing to waive the initial money to do it for free, because in social media, you have to give away first before you can ever ask for money. And you were in a position that you could have made it right away, and you waived that because you understood the bigger impact of providing knowledge for people and then showcasing the fact that you actually do deliver on that and give it to people. So that's awesome, man. You probably didn't even know how big of a move that was at that point in time either.
Well, I did. I think like this, you may not do business with me today. You may never do business with me, but that doesn't mean that you can't refer me him because he needs me. You may never need me, but he might, and you know him. And if I'm cool to you and he mentions something that I do for a living, you're going to most likely mention me, you know what I mean? Because I've been cool to you. So I have this feeling that it always comes back, And back then I didn't know this. Now I speak a lot of times for free if there's going to be a room full of people, but the agreement is let me pitch my shit. So you can pay me $25,000 to come speak, or I know if you can put 200 people in a room and I pitch my shit, I know I'm going to make 50, 60 grand. So I'm going to make more money if you don't pay me. If you want to do both, that's cool too. You know what I mean? But a lot of times if somebody's working with a budget, I'm like, hey, put me up before lunch and let me be the closer and you don't got to pay me, so... which is, good for them. And it allows me to get in front of these groups and stuff. Cause I find the best way to get followers on social media, you can buy them with ads. Obviously I'm running ads so strangers see my stuff, but getting in a room full of people and talking to them for 30, 45 minutes, that's the best fucking lead source you can get. So if Monaco's got a room with 200 people, none of them know me. Like for example, Friday and Saturday, there's an event here in our building. And I don't know the guys running the event, but I'm speaking at the event. I offered to do that for them. Now they're going to put 80 to 100 people in the room. I'm going to walk downstairs, speak at their shit, definitely pitch my shit, and probably walk out with, 10, 20 grand at least in sales for 30, 45 minutes of my time. And then 80 people now following me on Facebook.
Yeah, and not only that, but now you have the people that are in here that are gonna also share your stuff, blow it up, and then the fact that you brought everybody together too, because there's a sense of that too. Like you're like, that's honorable. You're bringing everybody together. If you didn't provide the platform, they wouldn't be able to have that opportunity. So it's everybody's helping everybody. I like the whole network thing. I believe in that strongly too. So that's amazing. And I know you're working with Dustin and them, so that's how we were able to meet each other, which is awesome. And then the fact that you even did this, it's speaks volumes to you, for you to be in your position to offer to let us come here and shoot this on a whim. By the way, for anybody listening or watching, literally I knew this guy for 3 minutes before I came here today. So like the fact that we're across from each other right now, that's awesome, dude. I hope that a lot of people are watching this that are in a similar position as yours that understand that like they're people all doing amazing things, and there's different people out there. And like you said, you don't know, maybe me and you don't do business, but somebody in my network might want to do business with you, and then it just goes from there. So like, kudos to you for allowing that, dude. This is a really good opportunity for all of us. Yeah, I like the roofing, the blue collar community in general. For the last 20 years, I've been in white collar jobs, but obviously, working at the car wash, but prior to that I was an electrician's helper, and grew up in a lower class neighborhood. So I've always, considered myself like a blue collar person, but in the 90s and 2000s, blue collar guys weren't making money like they are now.
and everything switched over to white collar, and that guy really saturated everybody with computer jobs. And now the blue collar industry is cranking out millionaires. People don't realize that. The HVAC, plumbing, roofing, electrical, these guys are just fucking making crazy money, and even the hands are making crazy money at this point. And you don't see little kids like I'll give you a great example. When I was young, my dad would say stuff like, if you don't get good grades, you're going to end up being like this guy. And he'd point to a plumber or something like that, and then he'd point to a guy in a suit. Hey, if you get good grades, you manage your life, right? You could be like him, this guy that, has a corporate job or whatever the case may be. And I think a lot of people's parents were that way. And so the computer and corporate got, really popular. And we look up, and I saw a statistic the other day, and I'm going to totally botch it, but by the year 2030, there's going to be a 600,000 job deficit in the HVAC industry. By 2030, there is like a $250,000 or 250,000 employee deficit in the electrical, like the licensed trade stuff. Hopefully, all these motherfucking government workers that got fired can go get their license and get their shit together. Surely there's some smart ones in there, right? I'd like,
Those liberal arts degrees aren't going to help.
Yeah, they're not, but
with the circuit board, let's be honest.
But those
probably not going to happen.
But those guys that used to charge $60,000 for a toilet seat, they know how to install a toilet seat. They just can no longer rip off the taxpayer, So hopefully that'll fill some of that, But the big thing is, I really care. It's why I want to do this podcast too, because I really care about this community. It's got a lot. I've worked with every industry. And I've worked with, I work still in the real estate industry. That's a wishy-washy, finicky industry. The banking industry is the same way. The coaches and consultants that are out there, I don't even fucking work with those guys. You know what I mean? Because they're just, it's a pain in the ass. But the guys that own HVAC, plumbing, roofing companies, man, it's been the best people that we have worked with. And the guys that are typically in these industries are a little behind the curve on technology. So you can have like Dustin can have a business that's doing $20-30 million a year. We put a little technology behind it. The next thing you know, that thing's doubling up and attracting people to knock on doors. And like with Linear, those guys started posting their top producer of the week's biggest paychecks. So they're holding like a Publishers Clearinghouse check from Linear with $50,000 commission, $100,000 commission. Bro, these guys couldn't keep people from fucking knocking their door down. So here's a company already successful, doing $20-30 million a year. They start this little bit of technology online campaign for how successful their sales guys are. Then they go to like 200 sales guys all of a sudden, clear $100 million the following year, and get sold for like 20 times EBITDA to private equity. Started a whole fucking trend in the industry because we took an already badass blue collar business, put a little bit of razzle dazzle social media and technology into it, and fucking that guy's got fuck you money now for the rest of his life. Built that business within 7 years, coming from South Africa. Like,
that's amazing.
And I've seen that with Dustin, with Kurt, we have another guy, Brandon, and Brandon's out of St. Louis, Missouri. And Brandon 8 years ago was in solitary confinement as a gang member in prison. He had overdosed on heroin in a 7-Eleven bathroom, and the cops busted in and busted him with a shitload of heroin, and he had to go do a whole bunch of time. He gets out, he meets a girl goes and gets a Lowe's credit card, puts all of his tools on a Lowe's credit card, and he gets his first roofing job. He learned about it while he was in prison. Flash forward 3 years, he joins Apex. He's been with us for 4 years. He just sold that company for a fuck ton of money last year. And this is a guy that otherwise wouldn't have had a shot. But he's like, man, you were on those podcasts on the only tablet we could get on prison. So as soon as I got out and as soon as I could afford it, I knew to get in your Apex program. And then I got in your Apex program and saw Kurt sell his company for fuck you money. So I knew it was possible. And then I went and did the same thing in 2 years.
Well, let's touch base on that. So I know you did the loan thing. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask you about that. So like you do marketing or like what is it that you contribute for like social media purposes, like with other companies?
Yeah. So our other business is called Apex. And so it's the Apex Business Association. And there's a few thousand members, and it is people from all walks of life, all industries, but it is a a collective, a think tank, a business association. So if you go to a BNI meeting, there's 10 people that sit around a table and they're like, you got leads? No. You got leads? No. You got no. Right? It's fucking waste of time. You make friends. You're paying to make friends. In our network, yeah, you've got friends, and there's every day when you have thousands of people, there's always somebody who does insurance, who does mortgages in this state, who's licensed for this and that. Hey, who's a referral? So there's a bunch of business being traded back there, right? Imagine if you're a DFW plumber and you hop in a group with 100 DFW roofers, eventually you're going to be able to get some business from them, you know? 100%. But we have an education piece on top of that as well. We have Apex Academy, which is the most... Maybe Cardone University has more content than me, but he might be the only person. And there are 1,000 videos in that motherfucker. You built it. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, there is training on everything. So, but it's like an encyclopedia. You go back there, Facebook ads, you type in, you know, social media marketing, free leads, all this, all these trainings for anything you can think of, standard operating procedures, KPIs, like all the shit you need for business training. And so a CEO can join Apex and then Monaco be his top sales rep. And he's like, you take the Apex selling system. Then he could be the marketing guy. Okay, you take the Apex marketing system. So you can actually delegate out to your team as the leader on the things to take. So you're all on the same page too. Then recently, and there's benefits we have for discount loans, discount merchant processing, discount insurance for business owners and stuff. So typically somebody can come in and save the cost of the admission by switching over to our merchant processor or our insurance or something like that. So there's those benefits. The other thing is we have a artificial intelligence suite. So when you sign up for Apex, you join, it's like a one-time fee for life. And so you sign up, you join Apex, and we have a who you should hire next questionnaire. At the end of the questionnaire, it gives you the job position, what they should do, the standard operating procedure for that position, and the job posting to go on monster.com, all within 30 seconds. Same thing we have for marketing plan, a business plan, and we have a closing objection test that people take. So you join within 30 minutes of joining, and all of a sudden you got a business plan, a marketing plan, who you should hire next, and a sales sheet to be able to hand out to your people to test them. So we've made this to where a lot of things business owners don't do, we can get done in a matter of seconds for them. Then, like, we had a guy yesterday that's in Apex for about 5 years, and he called me, great guy, dear friend, and he says, hey, man, I got stage 4 pancreatic cancer. They say 2 years or less, man. I mean, he's my age, and dear friend of mine. And we're talking, and what are you going to do? How's thing? He said, well, the one thing, man, is a little over a year ago, I met Chris in Apex, and Chris sold me a life insurance policy because I didn't have one, and it was a lot of money, and I didn't want to pay it at the time, but Chris was persistent. But fuck, I'm glad he sold me that shit now. And so I look at it, it's like, yeah, Chris made a sale from being in Apex, but Marlon's family's saved now because that guy joined. Never mind it's how successful in business he is, but he's you know, his whole family's taken care of now because he joined this a couple years ago and met somebody that said, hey, man, you're making good money. Let's get your finances in order in case something happens, and it did happen.
And that's huge. People don't realize, like, you could be gone in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And, you know, your family needs to be taken care of. I mean, not everyone's in a situation, like, let's say, like your situation where if something happened to you, you know, the life insurance is important. But, I mean, I know we've all kind of grown up more humble, and I've seen people's lives be ruined because, like, their mom or dad or somebody passes away and they have no money to pay for their funeral or anything, and you're taking out loans and falling behind, and it's, you know, it's a scary time. I mean, that's huge financial advice to, you know, especially if someone that's persistent, to make sure that this guy got that life insurance. I mean, that's huge. It sounds like you guys provide a good with your mastermind group. I mean, I met you originally through Tony Flatham, and
he's in.
Yeah, and Dustin, and that's how we met Dustin, because of Tony.
Yep.
I was out here with Tony. We went out to dinner. Like, you talked for a little while. Like I said, sat by you. You were in and out really quick. But then I met Dustin after that, and then we're starting to do some joint venture things with Justin.
Was that at Capitol Grill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you came by. I don't know. You were in a hurry or something. You're like, yeah, I'll come by. I don't even know if you stayed for dinner. I think you just came by and bullshitted for a little bit, kind of.
I'm always in a hurry.
And then you're like,
that's what happened last
go.
night too. That's why I was gonna dive into the personal with you. So I had a couple questions, but number one, like, what's the work-life balance with you? Because you got 4 kids at home, right? Is it 4? So what's
4 kids and a hot ass wife.
Yeah. So what's the work? She works here with you as well. Yeah. So like, what's that look like? Like, how do you guys operate that with all of what you have going on?
Well, at work, Amy runs Apex. So I'm the dancing bear, like I'm the trainer, content speaker guy, but she runs the company. Her and Monaco run that thing, right? I run the lending company, okay? And I'm just dancing monkey over there too. But really, my job isn't what people think, right? Like, my job is I'm a lead gen person, right? Like, my name is the CEO of Closer Capital, but in reality, I'm just the chief marketing officer. I know how to get leads in the door. I know how to get, like, I never seen nobody like it, to be honest with you. And I know a lot of people. We come up with the Closer IQ funnel 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we ended up packing 3,000 leads from that thing for free. No ads, no cost us nothing. You know what I mean? Like, we know what we're doing. I know what I'm doing there. And so my job is to make it rain leads. But as the CEO, my job is to find people that when I make it rain leads, they don't fucking drop the bag, you know? Which is hard because, you know, a lot of people put their first foot forward in you know, the interview and, you know, dude, I'm willing to do anything it takes. I'll make 1 million calls, and 10 calls into it, like, oh, fuck, you know? And which is always weird to me because, like, we have people who know who I am reaching out to us. We're not cold calling strangers. We don't talk to you unless you want to talk to us. You know, you've got to have made your way to our CRM. We're not out there doing scraping or any of that shit, you know? But so at work, you know, it's like that. But the work-life balance, I think, is bullshit. And I can mathematically prove it, okay? If you work 8 hours a day, we'll say that's conservative for an entrepreneur, but let's just say you work 8 hours a day and you need 8 hours of sleep, right? That's 16 of your 24 hours. Okay. So that means you got 8 hours left and there's to spend, that's eating, shitting, getting ready, driving, sitting in traffic. You can't even balance out time-wise with your family, right? So that's a terrible goal to chase for most people. And plus, balance is bullshit because when a scale is balanced, it's 0. Who wants to be a fucking 0, right? I learned that from my friend Tim Grover. The way to do it is to be strategic. So you have work-life strategic, right? And so for me, today is Wednesday. Every Wednesday, Amy and I do date night. So my nanny stays late. And Amy and I, we go 5:30 to 8 or 9 o'clock at night. We'll go have food somewhere, hang out, shoot the shit, have a couple drinks, then we go home, right? Every Wednesday. So Amy knows that because we work in the same building don't mean we talk to each other. So Amy knows maybe I'm busy or on the road or whatever late last night. I didn't get home till 10 or so working. And she's like, but Wednesday is always blocked off for me. So there's that sense of security in our marriage that Wednesday's our day to day. You know, I may not see the motherfucker the rest of the week, but Wednesday he'll be around. Saturday is that day for me and the kids. So every Saturday since they've all been born, I give Amy the day off of the kids, and me and the kids, we go and, you know, usually to the ranch, you know, the last few years. But before that, we were traveling all over the country, riding 4-wheelers or hunting or whatever the hell me and the boys were up to, you know. So my kids, they might think, I didn't see dad this week, but he'll be around on Saturday. My wife, I didn't see my husband this week, but he's around every Wednesday, and I can count on that and that stability and predictability in my life. And so I've got that from a father figure or a husband. That's how I get the work-life balance. It's like, hey, you have a day and you have a day. And if we get time on top of that, fucking hey, that's awesome, right? But we know for sure every week that we've got these times together. And so that's how I've been able to manage stuff, you know, is just by actually having a life by design, not a life by default, you know.
Right on. That's awesome.
Well, you know, he was bragging about that when you were at that dinner. You were saying how, you know, having a supportive wife, I mean, that's, you know, I'm sure it's propelled you to get to where you are. Because, I mean, you were bragging on her. I mean, her being a part of your business. I mean, like, if your significant other isn't, you know, rowing in the same direction you are, I mean, it's going to be, you know, choppy waters. But it sounds like from, you know, everything you were saying that day that you two are like the super team together. And you go out there and, you know, she's 100% behind you. And, you know, and I'm sure you're 100% behind her. So that's what makes it work.
This is my fourth marriage, so I fucked 3 of them up. And thankfully, though, or I wouldn't have this fourth one, but Amy and I have been together longer than I've been with anybody. And look, I'm not the guy I don't have a marriage podcast or some shit like that for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, I think that's definitely how marriages end. You start bragging about how good it is, and all of a sudden it gets bad, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want that karma coming on me. But, we have an understanding. We have a don't quit understanding with each other. So, a few weeks ago, I did something. I'm always up something. I pissed her off. You know what I mean? Like, we're a married couple and we're roommates, so we're obviously going to fucking piss each other off every now and then. I did something. I don't remember what it was, but she said, look, I love you. I'm just not your friend right now, so don't fucking talk to me. Like, all right, but I can respect that communication. You know what I mean? Like, I love you, but I'm not your fucking friend right now, so just get the fuck away. But, I'm like, okay. You know what? Because she's not like, she wasn't trying to hurt me. She was just letting me know, like, hey, I'm pissed at you. So, you're my husband and I'm behind, but fuck you for doing whatever you did. And so, just having that kind of understanding. It's like, we have a prenup, but it wasn't so much about money as it was like what to do if one of us cheats or what to do if this, that, and the other. And it's funny if you set, if someone sleeps with someone else, it's X amount of dollars, and you do stuff like that, then you're like, hey man, there ain't no pussy in the world worth that money. It just keeps a person focusing on track. But we follow that game plan. And so we know it's like, okay, we know neither one of us is going to have infidelity problems. We know both of us love each other. We know we're going to have disagreements because she's analytical and I'm sporadic, right? And so we know those things are going to happen. But if we both agree that, like, no matter what, we're not quitting this thing, we got no choice but to be successful for the family unit. You can be mad at me, but we still have date night. You can be mad at me, but you still have to cook dinner and I still have to go to work. You can be mad at me, but I'm still taking these kids on Saturday, right? So there's been plenty of times where, date night, we've been bitching and fighting with each other at work all day, and now we got date night, and it's like, shut the fuck up and get your purse and get in the truck kind of a situation. Yeah. It's like, we get the date night, like, no more fucking talking about work. We'll figure something else out, So it's just by design, and I don't think it's perfect, but I will say this. I have never met, outside of my pastor and his wife, I've never met anybody that I think has a marriage that's as good as ours and as genuine as ours.
That's awesome. And then the ranch background. So, like, you are born and raised Texan.
Yep.
Okay, so I know you went to prison. So did you do some type of ranching before that? Your family do that? Is that where you came from? And then you, like, when you started making money, you invested into it, or did you have the ranch from family? Like, how did that whole thing play out, the ranch?
A few things. First of all, I grew up in a town called Leonard, Texas, population 1,500. And we had a horse ranch. So my father, I'm adopted, but my father, my birth father, was the cutting horse champion of the world in 84 and 85. If you don't know what cutting horses are, that's what Taylor Sheridan has on Yellowstone. The 4-6s ranch with Taylor Sheridan and all that, that's cutting horses. Okay. They are fuck you money expensive. They make Kentucky Derby horses look like Kias. You know what I'm saying? They'll sell fucking an egg for $1 million from these horses. It's crazy, right? And so I grew up with hundreds of these horses because my dad was training them, riding them, showing them all this shit, man. He was the rodeo guy, right? And he went on to become the president of the National Cutting Horse Association. So I've been around horses and cows my whole life. My dad was a smart guy. He's cutting horses work cows. He started getting his horses to work goats so they'd be faster than the cows. So he's fucking smoking everybody, right? So innovations kind of runs in my family, I guess. And so my grandfather had a farm. So we lived in town 1,500. We had a house in town, and then he had, probably 50, 60 acres out of town where the horses and stuff were. And every day after school, I'd ride with my great-grandfather down to the farm, we called it, and feed the horses, check on things. And so I always thought that was cool. One day when I grow up, I'm going to have a job in the big city, but I'm also going to have a ranch in the country. Some people that's live in the city, have a house on the beach, live in the city, have a house in the mountains, whatever, right? For me is I want a ranch in the city and eventually get the fuck out of the city. Well, when Biden almost got us all killed the last 4 years and in war with everybody in the goddamn fucking planet, I thought, well, I I need to get some land faster than I thought. I need something that I can get off the grid and everything else. So I bought land. I was going to get land in Texas, but Oklahoma's better land and cheaper. So I actually bought some land in Oklahoma. We have 800 acres. I own 400 and lease another 400. And we run cows, pecans. But, during that time, man, I set this place up to be self-sustaining. So all my cars are EMP proof. Right? Bomb goes off. I don't give a fuck. I can still get to Oklahoma. I've got my house is self-sustaining. We have 12 lakes, all of them packed to the fucking gills with fish. I have deer for days. I have hundreds of cows. I have thousands of hogs, like pecans. I can grow any fruit. My neighbors, they all got arrested. So their land is abandoned and they were growing pot. So if I had to, I could just take over that land and grow fucking whatever I wanted in their greenhouses that are abandoned over there. Right? Like, I know all the neighbors, so if shit pops off, ain't nobody fucking with us. You know what I mean? We've got everything set up to be able to get the fuck away from everybody. And I watched that movie, Civil War, and a couple times in that movie, they're like, where's your dad? And one of the people's like, he's in the ranch in the middle of Kansas acting like this don't happen. And I'm like, yeah, that's fucking me. If the shit hits the fan, I want to be able to say me and my family ate like fucking kings and got along fine,
Yeah.
And so... So we went and bought that, and then it turns out, man, it's just like it's become like a meditation place for me, man. And it's not a normal ranch. Like, you have to really go there to experience it. It is not like normal ranch. You show up and it's just like, run down shit everywhere and animals. Like, our shit is like a fucking resort, like the way that we've got it set up, and that we have so many cows, the grass is always short, like it's mowed. We built rock roads through. I did $400,000 worth of renovations to it. So we dug out all the lakes, put a water system in, built like county roads, not like bullshit roads, like fucking shit you could drive on 2-lane highway roads through there. We built crossovers through the creek because we got 3 miles of river that runs through it. So we have one lake that's like probably 10 acres and it has a peninsula on it that's surrounded by water. So we built a fire pit and a pavilion and a bar and lights, and, we call it Party Lake. So, it's just like a really cool place to go and escape from everything. Because once you're out, like sitting at Party Lake, you're like, the only thing you can hear is gunshots from the neighbors around the way. You know what I mean? Like, it's peaceful,
It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And you just go out there with your family, you guys escape the stuff for a little bit, or even by yourself?
Yeah, I take people out there with me all the time. So every weekend, me and the kids, and sometimes the wife goes. Now that I got a house down there, she's starting to go more. But we have 10 four-wheelers and then side-by-sides, tractors, skid steers, all that. So there's always the kids usually get out there and ride four-wheelers, and I'm usually out working on a tractor or some shit, usually a skid steer or something like that. So, and I know, man, as soon as I show up out there, every goddamn neighbor comes over the house and shows up out there. It's like, every weekend there'll be 10 people, that show up out there to say hello. So, and what's funny is, it's in the city of Ardmore, which is like 20,000 people. And man, fuck, I know a lot of fucking people there, just through connections and people finding out that I live there. So it's actually, I've lived in my house in Frisco, Texas for 7 years, and I don't know my neighbor's name. I have owned this ranch for 2 years, and you can't see my neighbor's house, and I know them all, got their phone number, and they stop by all the time, right? Like, it's fucking crazy. The nearest house from me is fucking 2 miles up the road, and me and Tim are buddies, but I share a fence with these motherfuckers in the city, and I don't talk to them. But in their defense, my neighbors in the city have Joe Biden, Kamala Harris signs in their front yard, so I don't want to fucking talk to them. You know what I mean?
I've been living in my house for 3 years, and I have no idea who my neighbor is either. I never met him. Don't talk to him, like nothing. And we're like right next to each other. Yeah. So.
The first thing I did when I bought the ranch was go and talk to my neighbors. Though, gave them my phone number. Hey, if my cows get out, if your shit gets out, like because I thought that would be hey, we're sharing fences. That's kind of a big deal when you're running livestock. Right. So like, let's just know who each other is. I'm taking it over. I know you're going to hear rumors. I'm from Dallas, but I'm cool, and because of that. And then the guy I bought the ranch from introduced me to a bunch of people, and he's become one of my best friends, in the last couple of years. So me and him have actually sold a couple ranches together, made some money. So it's been a big blessing actually. But in the Bible, anytime God really rewards anybody in the Bible, other than Jesus, because, Jesus, he was already Son of God, but there was always land that they were good stewards of. They would tell you, go take over the promised land. Hey, go and conquer that land. Go and, so I look at it as it's been a huge blessing from God for me to be a good steward of that land. And seeing how we run things is different, man. We have the thickest grass you could imagine, man. So we have the happiest fucking cows. I mean, these cows, you can ride a four-wheeler from here to there and they won't even move. They're so gentle and used to everything. I mean, if you got hay in your hand, they'll come up and eat it from you. They're just super. And it's cool to be like, hey, man, I have 2 horses. And these horses are 21 and 32 years old, and they're living their best life. They're free on the range, eating the best grass in the country, drinking the best pond water you could imagine, or drinking out of that river with flowing cold water. Like, these are the happiest animals. I hate to eat them. Not the horses, obviously, but but you know what I'm saying? Like, because it's just like, they ain't no different than my dog at this point. So they're going to be delicious occasionally, but... But, but that makes me feel good as a human because, I know that the shit PETA bitches about ain't going on my place. I know the inhumane shit that you see in these, you don't eat beef or don't eat, meat commercials and shit is nothing. Like, dude, if PETA came down to my place, they'd be like, oh, if everybody just raised happy cows like this, we'd start eating them, So
that's awesome. Well, maybe we'll get to see it one day. As we get into a wrap here to head out, what advice would you give for the people that are one, interested in up whatever trade they're doing with the camera, all that stuff? Like, is there anything that really you would just tell anybody who is starting to get into this shit? Like, what do they need to do seriously? Like brass tacks. This is what you need to do. What advice would that be to give them?
So, I did a video on this in 2017, and it is more important now than it was then. In 2017, data became the number one most valuable resource on the planet. Up until 2017, it was oil. The difference between data and oil is if I extract oil from the ground one time, turn it into gas, burn it, it's gone forever, right? It's a non-renewable resource. Data is a renewable resource, meaning I can have data on what roofs I replaced and what hailstorms come that way. And as soon as a hailstorm comes again, I've got data to go back to so the reason why I tell you that is a lot of guys in the trades business, a lot of business owners in the trades, they think that the future is door knocking and building up a whole bunch of people, and it's not. The future is data. You're going to win the future of any construction business with data and programs. And what I mean by that is if I've got a team of 100 people knocking doors, and, some people are home, some people aren't, some people are interested, some people don't, right? Or I've got one data scientist, a guy that graduated from a college with a degree in data scientist, and he's telling me 5 doors to knock on that have a 98% probability that the person will say yes because of the data that we have in our CRM and the drone footage we have or whatever fucking data that we can get, then why would I go and send 100 people out that I'm paying or I'm responsible for, managing, worried about what they won't or won't say or what they charge or don't charge, when I can send one to get 5 deals, where I can send one guy out to get all 5 because we've got the right data. And I didn't need to manage 100 people either. I just needed one, and we're making the same top line, but a whole hell of a lot bottom line. The reason why I say this is because very few people are playing the data game when it comes to this. Like how many of you guys listening to this have done 100 roofs in the last year and you've never sent an email to those 100 people? How many of you have done 100 roofs in the last year and you don't text message all of those 100 people every 30 days with something for them? Here's a handy tip on how to repair your roof, or here's a handy tip on how to seal a door, or what lock to use, or the latest technology for this. Like, so many people, they have all this data and they do nothing with it. Right? They have a CRM full of shit that they never email. They have a CRM full of shit that they never call. They don't have all the automation set up to where right now, here's what happens. People pull up an app and they're like, okay, hail tracker says that, February 19th, there's going to be hail probability in Salina. And they just go, okay, it hit this area. Let's go figure it out, versus paying for the softwares that are already out there that analyze who was hit, who was done, keeping the data in your system, and not only using that data once, but every time there's ever a storm ever in this Metroplex for the future, you've got a list you can email. You've got a list you can do. That's going to be the future. The future's not in the manual numbers that we see. And here's what I'm going to tell everybody listening to this, that I don't want to be a I told you so guy, but a lot of people in the trades have this thought process that they will not be replaced with artificial intelligence, and that is foolish. That is a very dangerous mindset. There are already Roomba shingle layers, right, up on the roofs, and we can laugh at that, and it's bullshit right now. It really is bullshit. It's fucking terrible, and give it a year. The Morse law means that technology doubles every 24 months. So if it starts out shitty, it gets better in 24 months, and it's badass in fucking 36 months. Right? That's Moore's law and period with any technology, right? Tesla cars, when they first started driving themselves, they were killing people. That's not the case anymore. They've gotten better at that shit. So technology's coming. You can now, for $18,000, buy one of those Tesla robots. And those things suck right now, but they're like C-3PO right now in all reality. But shit, give them 2 years and the updates that are going to come and the chips that NVIDIA's going to make. And so you have to, and the reason why I say this for the people in the roofing and the trades industries is, if you don't start mastering, not embracing, not accepting, but mastering technology and artificial intelligence, you will be replaced by it. I see people all the time in my sales talk group say, well, they'll never replace me because I got good service. Really? Because I got a phone system already with better service. And guess what? It don't need personal time off. It don't miss calls. It don't say the wrong thing. It don't care if you call at 2:30 in the morning, it's going to call you back at 2:31. It don't give a shit. It don't make excuses. It ain't got to take a shit. It don't get pregnant. It doesn't have a fucking time off. You telling me that thing, fuck your service, and it don't have payroll taxes, and it don't need a 401k, and I don't have to pay insurance for it, and you think that thing's not going to take your job? Get the fuck out of here. Even if that thing sucks, the upside of the profit on that thing working is better than a human. And people need to understand that's trouble for every industry. But I've been saying this since 2015. Those of us that embrace it, those of us that have it, those of us that run the technology instead of getting run off by it will be the only ones left. And here's what I think is going to happen. I think Trump's going to say something's going to disappear with income taxes. And I think that W-2 people won't pay income taxes anymore. Only corporations will. And when corporations are the one that pay taxes, most people are stupid. So they're going to go, well, I don't want to pay taxes, so I'm not starting a business, right? Which means that if we're already in this shit and we got skin in the game, we're going to be light year. We're already used to paying taxes. We're going to be light years ahead of the people that don't want to pay them. Then on top of that, those of us that are already in business and embrace technology, as the pool gets smaller of entrepreneurship, right? And this is what the Democrats say. They're like, we're headed towards an oligarchy. This is how that happens, and we get to be a part of it if you're smart.
Yeah, 100%.
You want to be on the have-not side? Oh, I should have fucking embraced. Like, there's people all the time like, dude, man, I should have jumped in Facebook in 2010 when you did. Yeah, but you didn't. Now fuck you, money rich, and you're not. You know what I mean? And so the same thing's happening with technology, except for Facebook didn't take anybody's job. This shit will.
100%. All right, man. Well, honestly, dude, I wish that this could go on a lot longer. I know I could sit here for hours with you because it's just very interesting learning about you and the whole process, because watching the ads and then where we're at now and getting to hear the whole story is really cool. I do appreciate it again. You have been having us out here. Seriously, like the hospitality is amazing. Allowing us to be here and do this is huge. And I thank you for that, and thank you for meeting with us. And yeah, guys, take what he's saying to heart. I'm sitting right across from him. He's got a lot of conviction with this, and the proof is in the pudding, man. Go look at his Instagram, go look at his Facebook. Kudos to you, man. And Roof Trollz, see you guys on the next one.